In Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, he argues that your unfinished projects are starving your next idea. And in this video, we're going to unpack that a little bit. Right, I'm going to start with the quote. Hanging on to your work is like spending years writing the same entry in a diary. The next works are robbed of being brought to life. In that idea and that concept of completion, Rubin's talking about a full creative cycle from start to finish to feeding into the next project and back again. He argues that finishing our work and getting it out there is part of the fertilizer and the energy for the next project. And I know from working with a lot of neurodivergent creatives that there's a real blockage about getting the work out into the world, wider than your trusted circle of friends and family. And I think that sometimes just leaves tabs open in our head, waiting for something to happen, waiting for someone to show up, waiting for the cavalry to come in with a marketing plan and an idea, or a gallery to host it and put it up on a wall, or some record label to swoop in and buy up your entire back catalogue and load it all up onto Spotify. But I don't know how long you've been at this game, but that rarely happens. And clinging on to our finished work can just create fear and doubt, and it robs your next projects of the energy, the motivation, and the life to really be free, to have the space to grow. And I also know that lots of people that I work with, they get to the end of the project and they might get 99% there, but there's a little bit of, I've got to keep tweaking it, I've got to keep working on it, because if it's not finished, then I don't have to put it out. But also, we do finish it, but it just sits in a drawer or on a shelf. You've put it out to your friends and your family, and that's the best you can do, because you don't have the capacity to get it further than that. And that's just a muscle that we need to work on. It is painful, it is hard, and sometimes it's difficult to get it out there, but as we do it, it moves us forward. And as Rubin said, finishing our work is a good habit to develop. The more times we can bring ourselves to release the work, the less weight insecurity has. And I think that's exactly where this comes into play. It's that idea of insecurity, that idea of what's somebody going to say, what's going to happen when this gets out into the world. And I've worked with a few people and they definitely struggle with that. I've told the story already of the lady who created a children's illustration book, and she wouldn't even put it in the post to send it to a publisher because she was afraid that in a year's time, when it was published and on the shelves, that she'd be asked to show up at a bookshop and do a signing. Totally reasonable, but not a great reason to not send your work out. And that just means that there's this backlog of things sitting there waiting to get out. And they're all, I want to say festering, is that too harsh a thing to say? But they're all sitting there unrealized, and their potential is unreleased. And in some ways you're holding it back from the world. Like I talk about that selfishness in this video, that when I mentioned Björk, you're being selfish from holding it back. And I don't mean that in a getting at you way. I just mean there are people out there in the world who need your art, need to see it, need to hear it, need to read it. And especially at a time like now when things are crazy and wild, I just think the thing that we can do as artists and creatives is put beautiful things out into the world to inspire people, to calm people, to center and ground people, and to show them that there's life and beauty and art and creative things out there, as well as the craziness that we see on the news. To give you two practical things that you can do to move forward. One is, I think it's so easy to get close to the end of a project. It gets mired up in that, it's nearly done, but it's not finished. I don't know if I've got the energy to get there, or maybe I don't have the skills to edit it, master it, whatever it might be. And I think it's easy to go, I'll just start something new. Fresh page, fresh canvas, fresh recording project, whatever you're working on. But if you can start to build a little bit of a, when this is done, I'll start the next one. Because we crave that new, shiny thing. So let's keep it under wraps just for a few minutes longer while we get this project closer to the end. That's one thing you can do. And the other thing that I've found quite successful is working in groups and working on these things together, working towards a release schedule, talking about it, expressing how you feel in the middle, at the end, after releasing it, when you're putting it out into the world, asking for help, doing it together as a collaboration, doing it together seen and in community. And partly what that does is it creates a sense of exposure to finishing, but also a really supportive group of other creatives and artists who are putting work out into the world. And that's exactly what we do in Parallel Play. A couple of times a week, a group of us to get together on a video call, people from all over the world, working on their projects, finishing them off, putting them out, putting them up, putting them visible for people to be able to see, and working towards getting our goals realized, and then being able to get on to the next project. If you'd like to join Parallel Play, there's going to be a link in the description below. We'd love to have you along sometime. By recognizing that finishing the current project is the only way to unlock the shiny new next project, is a brilliant way to start to get your brain into that pattern and motivation of getting it done and moving on. But there's a reason why finishing feels harder than starting. And that's what I'll cover in the next video, which hopefully will show up for you here. Until then, join us in Parallel Play and stay creative. Thanks.